All right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Greg,
Okay.
thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Great to see you, Chris.
You too. So, Greg Johnson, you're the CEO of Tuvoli. We're leading up to NBAA. You're going to be at booth 3201 in the West Hall. But give us a quick rundown. Tell us about Tuvoli, and then we'll dive into some of the details here.
Sure. I mean, if I use two words, it'd be sales and payments, because those are the two areas we focus on. We want to, with Tivoli, the goal is, meaningful, impactful, value add for any charter sales organization, right? Brokers and operators. And so we have leaned in hard to be the best in the business when it comes to, tools for charter sales and tools for charter payments.
All right, so let's dive into the payment processing and the streamlining of that workflow. Can you kind of outline the challenge that most of these, and we'll stick with charter operators for now, but the challenge that most of these charter operators or brokers run into that you guys are helping solve?
Sure. There's a couple pieces to it. The first one is the customer interface. People that are booking charter flights tend to be on the move. So historically, the way that a charter flight gets booked is someone sends a PDF out to that charter prospect, with one or more, maybe they send more than one PDF with different options that charter prospect has to sort of download, execute, return that, including sort of getting a credit card, to provide sort of proof of the ability to pay.
Sure.
And, when you look at 2024, trying to ask a customer to take pictures of their credit card and their driver's license and send them to you via fax or fax via a text message or an email, or worse yet, just fill out that PDF by hand and write in your credit card number and email that back to me. All sounds kind of fairly sketchy in an industry that's kind of flying, big multi-million-dollar jets. So there's, the issues with the presentation, and then there's the issues with just that sales process. So, when you send a PDF and the customer is like, great, I'm going to do this. Let's just, just as soon as I get back to my desk, some meaningful percentage of the time, you never hear from that customer again, or the deal falls apart between when they were hot to trot and ready to go, when you had them all warmed up on the phone as a salesperson. And, when, you know, when you were hoping to get that deal done by, right? Because they either got cold feet or they used your quote to shop you at somebody else, to win the customer, underbid you by $500, maybe even losing money just to win a customer. That happens every day in our business, and so, our process allows you to literally call the customer on the phone. The quote sends so fast that you can send the quote after you have them on the phone, like ask them to put you on speaker, walk through the options, have them, click to go to the DocuSign, to sign the DocuSign, enter the card that proves that they've got the ability to pay, and do that all while you're still talking to them. So if there's any hiccups or anything going on, you're right there to correct it. And what I encourage folks that are in the charter sales role do is say, look, I don't want to lose that plane, which is absolutely accurate. It's a dynamic market. Every option that you are presenting to that customer is subject to prior sale, right? Or any other thing that could happen. So, there's a real, you're doing your customer a service by getting them to book in real time. And by the way, every customer just wants to get that done and move on, right? So all of this, so one of the things that we do is just optimize that part of the charter sales process, right? How the quotation gets delivered to the customer and how the customer can quickly and easily respond to it while they have you there giving them advice.
And so when you're going through that process, is it just credit cards, or do you have the ability to do like a variety of payment types? How does that work?
So our checkout, we call it our checkout experience, is more customizable than anything else in the market by far. When you're sending out a deal, you can choose based on parameters, whether you want to only allow that customer to pay by credit card. Maybe it's a pop-up trip. There's no time to do a wire, right? They can also configure it. And the default configuration would be give the customer the choice to pay by credit card or wire. If they pay by credit card, especially if it's a retail customer, then that default would capture a hold for the total amount of the trip, plus any sort of credit card convenience fee that you might want to add on top of it. And then it will automatically, when they sort of complete that piece, it'll send them wire instructions, including a trip ID that we instruct them to put into the sort of wire instructions. There's a description field, and then we help match the wires up when they come in. So our payment solution is not just the credit card piece, it's a credit card piece and the capture of the wires. And what we find is most companies have some form of Excel spreadsheet or something that they're sharing between sales and finance to know the status of these trips, because they need to know, is there a credit card hold? When is that hold going to fall off? Have we been paid? And all that. It's not like a one and done deal like you're, buying something on Amazon. It's a payment transaction that evolves over time, and we have a system that tracks it over time and makes sure that things don't fall through the cracks.
Okay. Yeah. The spreadsheet pops up everywhere. The spreadsheet is, I've learned, is the ultimate software band-aid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which
right.
We use spreadsheets too. I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. But all right. So I guess from that perspective, right, for somebody that's in a charter operation, let's take that example. You've got sales team and then the finance team. What is the process like? How much time does that take usually to reconcile that? And then what are the kind of conditions around them? Like, is there a time crunch around this? What is kind of happening in these situations typically?
Well, I mean, we really changed the game for the finance team. I think it's an area, I've developed software in this space for a couple of decades, and I always look to develop software where there are voids. And I haven't seen anybody else really lean in on charter sales software the way we have, or on the finance workflows. And both of them are really critical functions for charter businesses. An awful lot of the software is focused on compliance for good reason, right? Let's make sure we're legal with the FAA. But this is let's make sure we're doing the right stuff. And we have efficient, bulletproof systems on the business process side to make sure we're getting paid. So for the charter finance person, we've taken them having to kind of continually hit refresh on a bank page, looking for wires that come in that aren't coming in with anything that, like, oftentimes the wires come in with maybe a different name or, for a slightly different amount. And it gets really hard to kind of match them up. And then when you do match them up, where are you telling somebody that the wire actually came in? I mean, in some systems, it's just as easy as like pushing a button that says paid. Well, that's not all the details. And you can accidentally click paid on the wrong trip. Right. So we've got all this stuff that, like there's details that come through, like here's the bank account and the routing number and the person's name and the trip ID. And we have super high compliance with people actually giving us that trip ID. It's like 95% plus of the time, the customer sending the wire includes the trip ID, which some people are surprised by. But it's like, we just explain why, and, we have simple instructions. And so we completely streamline that whole process of how you guarantee payment initially, how you make sure that you're paid. And then we have, integrations. I mean, we have a system where you can do it all within Tuvoli, or we integrate with other scheduling software platforms for charter operators. We have webhooks that then update their scheduling platform with things like the DocuSign being opened and viewed, the DocuSign being signed, and the payment when it's come in. When the payment is matched up, it notifies the salesperson and it notifies the scheduling system that, payment's complete. So everybody knows, and I keep finding charter operators that will, sort of admit, yes, we've flown a trip and we thought we were paid, but we weren't. And yes, we've charged somebody's credit card and, after receiving a wire. Neither one of those are like good deals. And it just speaks to the challenges with having a good bulletproof system. And we've solved for that.
And so what was kind of the decision to partner with these, like the flight scheduling softwares? What's the benefit there?
Well, first off, the charter quote and the sales process that exists within one of these scheduling solutions, if we were to replace that, then that's sort of a bigger deal, right? So what we're saying, if somebody's happy with their charter sales process, and their charter scheduling solution, like, let's not change that. Let's just augment it. And where the real breakdown occurs is when that charter scheduling solution is sending out a PDF or, some less sophisticated method of payment. There's no other system out there that will help them match the wires that come in as part of
Sure.
it, right? And holistically do it. So we're saying keep everything that you like about your scheduling solution in place, because we don't have a desire to create, technology on top of technology. Those scheduling solutions, serve a purpose. There's many of them out there that do a good job. We want to solve for the problem that hasn't been solved for, not the problem that's been solved for multiple times. So integrations make a ton of sense for everybody. And those scheduling solutions, if they were to invest the millions that we've invested in white labeling a bank and developing all these charter specific, sort of trip confirmation document, a digital document workflows, all this stuff, it would be incredibly burdensome for them. So, in the same way that, companies that do e-commerce tend to bolt on PayPal or other sort of checkout experiences that are their own deal, like that's what we're doing for the charter industry, right? And ours just has to be different because of the fact that 90% of the trips in our space are paid by wire. We have to cover the wires too.
Yep. And so it's interesting, like just it comes in a different form, but seeing this on the maintenance side where you have systems that are disjointed or there are these gaps there, they all of a sudden create these kind of vacuums that need to get, sealed up by something, whether it's a different system or, you do things manually, whatever it is, but it always adds this extra time and this extra spot where things can go wrong. You can lose money, you can lose deals. It's interesting how these small disconnects have a pretty big compounding effect. I don't know. That's always been the interesting part to me about software and its application, is solving these things that don't seem that major from the outside, but when you start to get into people's day to day and you start to see the impacts of what it has, it's pretty cool. So where you may not be able to talk specific customers, but where have you rolled this stuff out so far in terms of this checkout experience and these integrations, and what are you noticing the impact is?
I mean, what I would say is, we have large charter brokers that use our, it's sort of a business in a box solution that does everything, sales pipeline management, lead generation, charter sourcing, and then this whole digital checkout that we talked about, right? So, and we've got, some of the largest brokers in the world that are on our platform in various manners doing that. And then, for this digital checkout as an API integration, we have, several hundred plus jet fleets that are on the platform there as well. So we've got, some of the larger players on both sides and many good smaller companies as well that have adopted this. And it's, we're just listening. I mean, right now we're past the point where we have what we call product market fit. And now we're in sort of the listen hard to your customers now that we have the solutions in place, and listen to how we can take them from being, good solutions to being absolutely awesome solutions. So we're really enjoying spending time with them and understanding the little nuanced things that are different from one customer to another, or things that we can do to take what's a great and better workflow and make it, just even that much better for our customers. I mean, we really want to create delight for the charter sales organizations and the finance organizations that are using our stuff. We want to stop them from having to do manual things, right? And have them spend their time looking for the anomalies, right? Like really add, value add, not, muscle to the work they're doing.
Yep. Okay. That's awesome. Well, and I know we talked before this, there's nothing specific or like technically big announcements or reveals, but what are some of the main things that you'll be covering with people at NBAA, and what can they kind of expect?
Well, I mean, anybody that's looking for demand, and we know that the market is softer and demand is harder to come by, we have fantastic solutions there. Our marketplace, our Fly Easy, charter marketplace has grown 1,000% since we acquired it 4 years ago.
Nice.
And the volume that's coming through that is just, amazing. We've done a lot of things to improve the sort of the accuracy and quality of the fleet data that's in there that people can use. And there's a lot more to come on that next year. We have a lot of folks that are also leaning in on our web lead generation that can go on a company's website. A lot of charter operators are realizing that, they should be the go-to source in their own home market. And one of the ways to do that is have lead gen tools on their website. We've got, I would say it's safe to say we've got the most sophisticated, lead generation sort of widgets that you can put on your website, and we've customized them for, dozens of charter operators and brokers, to help them drive leads. So those are things that are there. And then obviously we have, like robust tools when it comes to charter sales. I mean, lead funnel, pipeline management. If you're a broker, we have trip management as a part of that too. So managing your passenger lists and catering and ground transportation and the trip sheets that need to go out. We have all of that in a solution that scales. I mean, we have customers doing, north of $100 million in charter broker business that are on our platform using that as the tool. So it scales to pretty much any size business.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I'm glad we can talk through this, and I'm looking forward to catching up when we're at NBAA. You'll be at booth 3201. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
I think we've covered it. I think we're good.
We got the snapshot.
We did.
Now you got to show up at the booth for some details.
That's right. That's right. Come to booth 3201. We'll show you what I'm talking about.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it.